The key to the Cowboys' bounce-back success the past 2 seasons, is it McCarthy? I want you to be excited, Mike, that I said McCarthy and not Mike, because you are the Mike in DFW.
Thank you, and I like that. That's a good question so far. I'm sure there's more people, though.
I mean, I want to start with him, or I want to open it up to other hypotheses that you guys might have about why the Cowboys have been so good at bouncing back.
Corey, I'll start it off, and I do think Mike McCarthy deserves a lot of credit for what he's done here so far, and I know a lot of people were upset with him after the first year, but he did get his quarterback hurt in the 5th game of the year and went approximately 5-5 with Andy Dalton. So I think that's a pretty good job. I'm not saying he's the best coach in the world, but I thought that was a pretty good job. Last year, I didn't think the Cowboys were going to be that good, and they went 12-5.
Yep.
Hey, they I don't want to say should have. They were a home team and lost a playoff game as a favorite. So they were a favorite and lost a playoff game against a team that was a bad matchup and could be a bad matchup again this year.
Yeah.
But I think he's trending towards another 12-win season. And
I think that is certainly viable.
Yeah, and so I think that he has a lot to do with this because Jason Garrett wasn't consistent like this. Jason Garrett would have, let's just say, 10 or 12 wins, and then it would be 8-8, somewhere around there again, and then jump up to 12 wins again.
And by the way, if you want to see, I actually have some numbers about them rebounding, but if you want to see the biggest difference going forward, do you know, and this is wild to me, in the month of December, I know we're not there quite yet because you got the Giants tomorrow.
Still November.
I know, you're right. I'm one of those media folks who looks ahead. Was that on air or not? Is Mike McCarthy has the 3rd best winning percentage in the month of December in NFL history, or excuse me, 4th, behind Bill Walsh, Andy Reid, and Joe Gibbs, all of whom are either in the Hall of Fame or will be in the Hall of Fame. Because that's what people tell you all the time. It's like you make your money, or you make the ability to show how good your team is in December, January, and now in February. And he's in that group. He is 42-18 in the month of December.
From the 304, it says no Dan Quinn. And I just want to point something out here.
Okay.
Dan Quinn I don't think would be here if it wasn't for McCarthy. McCarthy called him up last season, and I know Jerry will take credit for it, and said, hey, he told Jerry, I want my defensive coordinator. I need this coach because he's good at what he does.
Sure.
We need to have some sort of continuity going from one season to another. I can't start over with a new defensive coordinator. We just got it built. Kevin, I think the one thing that the thing I'll give McCarthy the most credit for is he's built a team. He's had the patience to work with Jerry, for one. And a lot of coaches, it wears them out. They don't understand how, and he split it up yesterday perfectly. He's like, look, there's 2 different guys. I'm talking to 2 different guys. I just got to figure out which one it is. But have you watched the video, the post video from yesterday? It's the whole, like, all the sideline stuff. And they posted it up
Mike
yesterday.
is amazing.
It's like 7 or 8 minutes. And they are a team right now. And Derek can talk about being on a winning team and knowing what that environment's like. They're all supportive of each other. Every one of these, it's a different, you can see the sidelines very different right now with these guys, in that even whenever offense is up, defense wants to know what's going on. And so McCarthy has built this and nurtured this this environment where it's really about football when you walk in the doors, which wasn't always that way with certain people around.
Yeah, and I also feel like even watching the games, you can see the energy not just from McCarthy as well. It goes with every single player out there. Like you brought up, Corey, with the being on the sidelines, having that energy when the offense comes off the field and the defense goes on, they're pushing each other. McCarthy's just as involved. It's kind of like in the baseball world, it's like having Wash again on the football side, because he's so into the game. He's getting the guys fired up when they come off the field. He's showing his passion.
Wheeling him around third.
Yeah, if he starts doing that when we're going down the end zone, like going for the end zone, that would be great too. But you can see the vibes of the team and how great these guys are clicking together. And that's why, too, I know we're going to eventually get to this with Odell Beckham possibly coming here too. guys, we've talked about before, do they get upset because you get a new guy coming in? Well, this is a guy that's helping your team too. Yes, somebody's going to get affected by this, might lose some, chances to get the ball or whatnot, but at the same time, it's helping the team. So that's going to be a huge, huge benefit there. But yeah, the chemistry and everything, you can see it on the sidelines. It is, those guys are fired up. It's definitely fun to watch.
He's a football coach. I know,
Sure.
you like Jason,
Facts.
No, and this is a reality. Some guys get caught up in being a cowboy and the glitz and glamour of I get to hang out with Jerry Jones every day and he's got his chopper and I'm gonna fly. I don't think McCarthy cares about any of that crap. All he cares about is what are we doing on the football field and how do we get better at it. And he understands what it takes to win a game each week, and that's why his record is what it is. And Mike pointed out the first year was kind of tough. Since then, now I'll add this too. Dak, you know what you're getting as out of the leadership side of it. Now that you've gotten the growth from Micah into leader, like last year he was like, "Hey, can I just get my feet wet here and everything?" The growth that Mike has taken into this next level of I'm holding all of you guys accountable on this team and we're going to go at it. I thought it was really funny when he was like, I'm not practicing. I'm not going to practice if I'm not playing.
If you're not going to let me play.
And somebody was
absolutely.
like, you don't practice anyway. And he was like, but I, you can tell it's like, but I show up. It's one of those, like, he knows I'm showing up each week.
From the 901, I think they mean this as a dig, but I think this is exactly the point. Let's take a look at the tape after the Green Bay loss. Were they a team then? Yes, they were.
They went in that locker room and tore each other up.
Yeah, and guess what? Then they whipped Minnesota. They beat them down. Minnesota went into that game tied for the best record in all of football. Now the questions all week are, is Minnesota done?
Yeah.
That is how bad they got beat down by the Cowboys. So I decided to look into this a little bit. Since 2021, the Cowboys are 7-1 after a loss. And that's huge right there. And so I decided to check. Did they just beat up a bunch of...
So we need to lose to Washington to finish the season.
And you actually... I see what you're saying there. And the teams they played after those losses are combined 33-28.
Okay.
So they weren't like a bunch of chump teams or anything. I was worried it was going to be like, those teams were 15-49. And I'd be like, well, big effing deal. Well, guess what? The combined record, I didn't say the word. The combined record was above 500. And in those games, they're averaging 32 points a game.
Okay.
So you think about it. They have a loss. They come back. Not only do they win, their offense is clicking, which right now I feel like is it still that's more of a concern for people than the defense? Like maybe you're feeling great about both right now, but I still think more people are probably concerned about the offense if you had to pick one as opposed to the defense.
I was kind of listening a little bit to what Broadus and G-Bag were kind of discussing yesterday, and I am a little concerned about this because that whooping that they put on them, that the Minnesota Vikings had done what they had done most of the year. They didn't change much. And so you went in with a really good game plan, and there wasn't much adjustment from the Viking side at all. And I wonder how much that plays into it. If you see them again, will they just be like, we're going to roll out? They basically said, we're going to do what we're good at. And if y'all stop it, that's just the way that it is today. I don't know if they have something to go to, if they have a change up they can go to or not.
That's a good question.
But that is something that I kind of want to know. You had your game plan ready. What happens whenever a team says we are game planning for you? Because they did not run the ball. They did not stay committed to the run. Obviously, they had a real difficult time sticking with it because they were behind by so much so early. But they decided we're not going to do what we think y'all's weakness is. That being said, the Cowboys, if you watch that video again, you hear Curse on the sideline after the first one saying, you got to earn the pass rush. We got to earn it today. And they went out and did.
Is that why they wanted to rush the passer?
Yeah, they
when
all
it was
did.
37-3 and we hadn't quite closed. The game wasn't over yet. I mean, it was over, but it wasn't over. And they were like, all right, now go now.
How many possessions are typically in a game for a team?
Like 10.
10, and you had 7 sacks. You kind of almost end a drive with a sack a lot of times in that game. And so out of maybe 10 drives, I didn't look to see how many possessions they had, but there were 7 sacks in that game. So 70% of the time, Kevin,
it worked every time.
They finished the drive by saying you're not going and you can't throw against us.
Now, when we can pick this back up again later, but I did want to read this text. It's about Odell Beckham. I hope we don't get him. We have not had a toxic player in a while, and the team is better without a toxic player. I had somebody message me that last night. I don't know if it's the same person or somebody different. They're like, I don't understand why you would want Odell Beckham. It seemed to work out pretty well with the Rams before he got hurt. And then just as an aside, did you see that the Dallas Cowboys Twitter posted about Beckham yesterday?
Really?
Which I thought was odd.
You can because he's a free agent.
He's a free agent.
But it's still, it felt like really tipping your hand. It's not tampering or anything. It just seemed like an unusual move. It is Dak.
The Cowboys like doing.
They do.
We're trading Cooper.
It is
Anybody
Dak
want him?
and Odell Beckham
Thank
shaking hands, and then it's the story about how Dak pitched to him.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's happening.